Hello, all you skibbies. This is Great Answer, and I'm coming to you from the rope bondage capital of the world, Madison, Wisconsin. And we are at the Freyja Project Winter Festival, which is a lot of fun. FreyjaProject.org is the place you can find it. Freyja spelled Freyja. This is also where we will be having the Mad Winter Grew, February 22nd to 24th. And you can find out more about that at madison.grew.space. There, that's all my own personal stuff. But we got to pay the bills, and we do that because we have wonderful sponsors. So please go and visit leeallure.com, leeallure.com, or spiraleyesoap.com. Lee is a hypnotist of great skill, as well as a person who makes soap. And her soap is hypnotically wonderful. I've actually suggested that she make an induction of the suds are getting over your body and covering as you go deeper. And she hasn't taken me up on it, but that's why, I do a rope cast and she does hypnosis. But we appreciate her support for this podcast, as we also support and really appreciate Twisted Monk, twistedmonk.com. My erstwhile guest here today talked about handmade rope from a artisan on the East Coast, and I was like, well, I know who he's talking about, and I like that person, but personally, I gotta say, I also happen to really like the hand-conditioned and dyed rope from an artisan up there in the Pacific Northwest by the name of Twisted Monk, twistedmonk.com. He has a new color every month. He gives a proportion. They always sell out, and he gives a portion of all of the proceeds to a various charitable groups. He is a provider of employment for several people and does sustainable and living wage stuff. Basically, Twisted Monk is the person that I hope to be when I grow up, except I think I'm older than him, so that may not work out. But thank you very much, Twisted Monk, for all your support for the podcast and ongoing way. So I think with that, the only thing I have to do is introduce my guest here. First of all, your pronouns are, I believe...
He, him.
He, him. And TypeAtypical. Now, that is with a capital T and a capital A and nothing else.
Which is very difficult for people to remember, so I've found.
Yes, so we're going to put it on the Ropecast so everybody knows about it. TypeAtypical, and he has taught at Ropecraft before. I actually think I first saw you teach at the Kansas City Grew, which was impressive, but I was doing a Grew, and so I didn't get to see the whole class. In this particular situation, I have had the opportunity to attend a couple of your classes now, I think. And I'm very happy to say that we were right to bring him to Ropecraft. He does a really good job of teaching rope and has a very interesting idea of things. So do you want to give a quick introduction as to how you got into rope there?
How I got into rope. Once upon a time, I had a very good friend who also would go around the country presenting, and he would put on a 101 class for our local college. Our local college had a BDSM, an alternative sexuality discussion group called Cuffs, and he would do a 101 session for them every semester, and eventually I ended up living with him for a while, or under his roof anyway, and I picked up a few things, and then I thought, I'm never going to use this because rope is boring and I hate it, and all I want people to do is hit me. And that lasted for about 8 years. Wow. And about 3 years ago, we were all sitting at a small coffee shop in the town that I'm from. We've put together a local munch, and it turns out that all 8 of us sitting there were bottoms. And it turns out that doesn't work very well, and that somebody's got to do it. And so I said, hey, I have some of this rope still sitting around. In fact, my first kit was Twisted Monk because it is amazing rope, and it is what the person that I learned from used at the time. So it's what I picked up, and it's still great rope. I love it.
Feel free to drop names if you want, by the way.
Okay. Lookout was yes.
Person I'm thinking of, he's been on the Ropecast. I know he won't mind being mentioned.
Yeah. So we started tying. We started tying on Tuesdays, and we started tying every Tuesday, and then weekends. And then for some reason, we just kept going. And honestly, I don't know what changed between 3 years ago and now, but here we are.
Nice. Very nice. So it's kind of a literally grassroots rope movement kind of thing.
Literal grassroots.
And would you? I'm going to giggle as I say this. How would you describe your style of rope?
Oh my God! So one of my classes this weekend was on finding your style, where I would like to describe my style as Wimbledon style. It is very underground right now, but it will be making an emergence soon. We got to work out the.
Which would explain why you always wear white.
Absolutely. No, you must wear white while tying Wimbledon style. No, this class was fantastic. We essentially crowdsourced a style talking about why we tie, what we tie, and how we tie it.
And actually, this kind of brings me to one of the things I noticed. If I had to describe your pedagogy, and for those who aren't familiar with that term, that means how he teaches. It's not the other words that have that word, that root. If I had to describe your pedagogy, it would be that you seem to like to really like break things down into components and then remix them. So like for the style, I believe there were three factors. So like can you briefly say that? I don't want to take your class, but just kind of, to get people thinking.
Now, once again, they were why we tie, then they were the actual ties, what we tie, and how we tie them.
And with the how, is that about, is that like intent?
It can be. There is intent. There are other things you do while you tie. I kind of wish I had my clipboard because it's all written down. my 5-page outline for
it's an upcoming
class.
Book, yes.
It could be. But the how was very much the process by which it gets done. It's the things that people don't see in pictures.
Okay. In the other class that you had, you broke down, it was demystifying rope, which I confess, I thought it was going to be kind of like a rope history or hey, we're all here just to tie up people and it's, not all mystical and stuff. But really, you broke it down into the 5 basic components of just about any rope tie and then taught them and said, hey, remix this and you can do anything.
Yep.
Which I love. I won't go into the 5 things you should take his class or book him to come out and see you. And here we enter a portion that I will be happy to edit out if you so choose. But I would like to do the fact that you are, to my knowledge, the only national level asexual rope presenter. How does that feed into the way that you teach or the way your experience has been, or does it is just hey, I wish people would stop harping on this fact?
It's not something that I encounter a lot. I bounce into a few people. There have been a few in the rope community, but it is something that I have extremely mixed feelings on. On one hand, it did help me out when I was starting out. When I was starting to tie, a lot of people will complain. It's almost impossible to find people to tie with. And for some reason, looking the way that I do, it was...
Which looks exactly like me, but about 20 years younger.
I look like Little Gray. But no, people would tend to trust me more than I think they honestly should because they weren't they weren't afraid that I was going to tie them up and take advantage of them. I portrayed an air of safety, which, again... Please just do not trust things that people say.
So, I hate to tell you this, that might not have anything to do with your asexuality, because I've had the exact same experience. And it is a matter of, people will come up and say, I'm like, well, hey, how come you wanted to tie? Oh, I just trust you. And I will tell you, part of that is because of this podcast, which has, people are used to hearing my voice when they are in comfortable, repetitive situations. And therefore, when I say talk to them in person, they're like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm comfortable. I feel safe. Don't feel safe.
Yeah, no.
It's not the way it works. But you should feel safe with me because I'm not going to hurt anybody, but don't just do that because you just feel that way. Like, do your due diligence. Same thing with, do you mind if I say your first name?
Absolutely.
Same thing here with Dylan. You should definitely not trust him automatically. But after having a conversation with him and finding common ground, I can tell you, he does some really fun, awesome scenes that I've seen.
Oh, you weren't even here last night. Last night was
Tell me about last night.
Now, we ended up, me and my partner, who I primarily tie her, but we co-tied a stranger friend and their partner.
Oh, okay.
And that they were up for an hour. We managed to get stranger from the top of their partner through their partner's legs to the bottom of their partner without ever coming down. And I like to call that a field goal. That was 3 points.
There we go. The new transition is the field goal, which is transitioning through your partner's legs. This is how rope tradition starts.
Remember, rope is very serious business.
Yes, totally serious. In all, you're kind of, so I say, emergent in the rope community to some extent. I mean, I think you were pretty well known in your local community, obviously, and now are starting to do more nationally. What are your feelings, coming into the rope scene? Like, are you enjoying it? Are there things you wish were better? And feel free to hedge your bets because you don't want to burn any bridges here. But just any comments about what it's like?
My default state of being when I came into the community about 12 years ago, my default state of being is to sit in the corner, shut up, and listen. And after years and years, I felt comfortable actually speaking again. And coming into the rope community, I'm feeling that again. I feel like I'm surrounded by people with so much more experience and so much more understanding of the way things work that I have a tendency to just sit back a little bit and try to take in where we're going. Once I find my voice, maybe I'll be more. Mm-hmm. I'll have more non-safe things to say, but until then,
is there anything that if you could like wave your magic wand and change things, what would you? Anything you would change?
That's tough. Let me think about that one.
All right, it's fine. We joked about style originally, and you talked about your class, but you didn't necessarily talk about your actual style. Like, what do you like to do to people in rope? Yeah.
So, two things here. First off, being ace, rope is about as close to intimacy and connection as I get with a lot of people, and it's kind of the substitute for that. So I do not tie the extremely serious, hyper connective. You can't see me. I'm doing air quotes right now. Rope, but the connection that I get from that really is it does substitute for sex in my book. But the main style that I would say that I use is exploration and explorative. Mm-hmm. I like to start from a place that I know. I usually like to tie chest harness and a hip harness, and I know in this day and age hip harnesses are not cool, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, no, it's behind the style of the time. But no, I like to get up.
You're behind the style. I didn't know that hip harnesses weren't cool anymore. Shit, I'm really behind the style.
They're going to be cool again pretty soon, so then we can be retro cool. But no, we'll get up into a position that we know with no plan beyond that and just start making shapes. And eventually, hopefully, stumble on something new.
Now, I've heard you express some thoughts about the Tecate Cote. So when you said chest harness, I'm sure that most people pictured a Tecate Cote. Is that actually what you intended, or you can feel free to be as diplomatic as you like, or as non-diplomatic? You can say fuck on the podcast.
I will not be diplomatic when it comes to this. I tie a large number of people, a large number of body, a large number of type of bodies. A variety of people, and I have had more partners than I can count whose shoulders just don't do that, their backs don't do that, their bodies don't do that, and they feel broken or inferior in some way as rope bottoms. And I'm like, no, we will find different ways of doing things. One of the classes that I taught this weekend, and it's a class that I try to teach as many times as they will let me, is there is another chest harness that I use that is also arms in, but is arms front, and is accessible to a far larger number of body styles and types. And so I try to spread that around as much as possible because, it is the thing that let me start tying the way that I do, it would let us get up into the air and stay there for 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 9 minutes at a time, and we could actually do that exploration. But I put more and more people on it because I like to stress test things. I like to see how they work. And I've had people from 90 pounds to 400 pounds in this thing sustainably for significant periods of time. And I want more people to know it.
This is your Widow harness?
This is the Widow harness. This is not my design. This was originally developed by Aeolus. He showed it to us at an intensive once, and I always like to tell the story at the beginning of the class where he starts showing it to us, and he's like, okay, it's going to start out with a scarf on the wrists. And I immediately throw a fit, like, what? No. What are we doing with this? Why are we throwing a scarf on the wrist? And then just wait. Now we're going to go ahead and put a lark's head on the scarf on the wrist. And no, what are we doing? This is not rope bondage. This is not traditional. This is not the way to do things. He's like, wait, just hold on. We're gonna get there. Now we're gonna essentially tie the goatee structure upside down, reverse, backwards, and off center. And I pretty much came across the table like, no, what are we doing? And somewhere about halfway through the tie, there is one half hitch that you pull tight and the entire thing locks together. I'm like, oh, that's why we're doing it.
See, now I want to do it like a song. There's a scarf on the wrists on the rope, bottom bit in the rope. Anyway,
It's the bump on the log.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And why is it called the Widow's harness?
Because at the very end of the harness, originally it didn't have a name. At the very end of the harness, there is a friction that looks suspiciously like an hourglass.
Ah, okay.
And we needed a name for the thing.
So it's like a Black Widow.
And it looks like a Black Widow.
All right, that's cool. I can do that. So we're actually running out of time because we have to get in. But what I would like to do is continue to... Yeah, good. We're still recording. Time for the lightning 10 questions. I don't even know if there's still 10 or whatever. But this is just kind of the getting to know you. So if I was going out with you and I was going to get you the beverage of your choice, what would I get you?
A stout of some kind.
A stout. Cool. I had a sweet potato stout recently. That was actually remarkably good. Okay. And what if I said, hey, I'm going to cook some dinner. What would you like to eat?
I would like a steak about as close to rare as you can get.
All right. Cool. Wow, you are just like very similar to me.
You know.
Okay. If I said, hey, I'm looking for something good to read. What would you recommend?
Oof. I like to read the news.
News?
Because I am a masochist on top of everything else.
Apparently. Okay, read the news, Gray. Okay, great. And a scientist. What if I say, you know what, I'm looking for something good to watch, either go out or to watch on TV.
Ooh.
What would you recommend I do?
Pass.
Pass?
I don't watch a lot of things.
Okay, all right. I guess shift on to what's your favorite song?
The entire catalog of Amanda Palmer.
Very well, okay.
Who we now have tickets to in April.
Yeah. I'm going to edit that out because I don't want to, have that rubbed in. Okay, so let's get into more rope-centric things. What's something that's in your rope bag that would surprise people?
About 8 scarves for educational purposes.
Of course. Okay, and I have a magic wand, and I can wave this magic wand, and I can make anybody, fictional, real, past, present, future, appear, and they want to play with you. Who would it be, and what would you do?
Holy crap. I'm bad at lightning rounds.
It's okay. There is no answer too strange for this one, believe me.
Do not know.
Can't think of anybody?
Not on the spot.
Okay.
I'm bad at this.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, you can just say, who would you like to play with? It's the saying, who would you like to play with?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I don't know who that is.
She's an actress. She's
plays-
my celebrity crush.
Okay, plays who?
She was Ramona in Scott Pilgrim. She was in 10
okay.
Cloverfield Lane.
Okay, cool.
She was in the horrible remake of
Yeah,
The Thing.
I can see that. Okay, See, for me, it's Masumi Max. That's the person that that's my celebrity crush who I'd like to tie. Occasionally, she actually will acknowledge one of my tweets, and I'm always like, oh my God!
Right.
And Amanda Palmer, of course.
Oh, that's a good one.
See?
Yeah.
See, there you go.
I feel like there's more of a chance there.
Honestly, I would kind of fun to co-top Amanda Palmer and Neil Gaiman. Both.
Oh my God.
Imagine.
Please write me a song
Yeah.
and some amazing literature. As
and there goes the fanfic. Yeah. All right. So great. And I thought there was one last one that I was going to ask. Oh yeah, I do remember what it is. What is your favorite dirty word?
My favorite dirty word. Fine.
Really? That's a new one.
Fine.
Okay, that's a dirty word for you, huh?
You have to say it in the most dripping, scathing way possible.
Gotcha. How's the rope doing?
Fine.
Gotcha. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks for spending the time talking, and appreciate you being here on this. And thanks for coming to Freyja.
Thank you very much for bringing me out here.
Freyja Project, yeah. And hopefully we won't see you. I might not see you at the GRU because you're hopefully going to be in Nerix.
Officially, it sounds like they did not hit their capacity, so get applications in.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't make Nerix, come to the GRU.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to thank Dylan, a.k.a. TypeAtypical, for cooperating and doing this in the middle of a very busy day. Both he and I were teaching on that day, and we literally had an hour for lunch, and he took a half an hour of that just so we could do this podcast. And also a big thank you to the Freyja Project. FreyjaProject.org is their website. They do a lot of great events there, including an interesting one. They're having a Harry Potter marathon and pajama party for the members and things like that. So it's not just a kink center, but it's a community center. And I think that's a really great way to do things and to build community outside of just the fetish nights and events, and even outside of the munches, although there are a lot of munches that happen at the Freyja Project. I'm really enjoying being a part of that group. And hey, if you are looking to book a city or a place for a class or workshop or type of thing in the Midwest, which is very easy access from Chicago, from Milwaukee, from Des Moines, and even from Minneapolis, Madison is a great place to do that. So by all means, if you're looking for a good venue, I think the Freyja Project, I can't recommend it enough. That's why I'm going to do the GRU there. Other than that, I want to thank again leallure.com and also twistedmonk.com for being my sponsor for this, and my patrons. Now, I have noticed several of my patrons have been reducing or even cutting their financial contributions to the podcast. So two things. First of all, the podcast will keep going. The podcast was going long before Patreon even existed, and it'll keep going long after Patreon is gone. I appreciate the help that people have given me. And also, I totally get it. If you are in hard financial times, like we all are, a lot of us are, that would definitely, totally understand needing to change your pledge. That being said, I also am in the midst of the financial transition. So if you've ever thought about going to patreon.com/great answer and starting to contribute something for the podcast, that would be great. I am not doing so much traveling, and as a result, I have more time here at home, and I have scheduled interviews, so this podcast will be on track to do every 2 weeks. So we are back, we are strong, and we are going to keep going, and we are going to make it through this goddamn regime change here in the U.S. that is impacting so many people. This podcast is released just after the Tumblrocalypse, which is part of the ramifications of SESTA and FOSTA that have caused both Facebook and Tumblr to go and jump ship. We'll talk more about that later on, but I just want to say I've seen a lot of people going, hey, we'll go to MeWe or we'll go to Ello. So Ello and MeWe both, without going too much into it, are very anti-porn. They have it written into their particular guidelines. So I'd suggest before you invest too much time in those things that you realize that they could disappear at any moment. And really, we'll probably have to have an entire podcast about ways to try and minimize that. But a lot of people that invested a lot of time in like Facebook groups or in Tumblr blogs are now discovering that, unfortunately, we are not living in a time when simple things like sexuality, or I should say fundamental things like sexuality, are there. But that's kind of my own soapbox to rant on, and we'll save that for another podcast. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions for people to interview or things to do, let me know. And I will see you again in 2 weeks. Great answer. That's a good vote.
When are you going to air it?
Shit, I hope I just actually did record it. That's seriously like... Probably.